Well, hey there, everybody. Happy Saturday. Wherever you are, I hope it is as warm and beautiful as it is here in Southern Illinois in St. Louis. Oh my gosh, it's finally warm enough for me to work outside. So a lot of my live videos might be here instead of at our office. So anyway, today we are talking about anxiety. So many kids that I have worked with in the past and I'm working with right now, they're not diagnosed with anxiety and they're not really showing maybe the classic symptoms of anxiety, but are definitely experiencing anxiety. So I know that, just when I talk to parents about this and bring some clarity to that based on what I know is going on in their brain, it just helps everybody kind of manage the symptoms of that and understand their kids a little bit more. So today we are talking about how you might not realize that your child has anxiety, what to look for in them to figure out if they do have anxiety, and then if they do, what we can be doing from a functional neurology standpoint, so how we can heal their brain to really help them start to overcome their anxiety. So as always, before I dig into that, I just want to share a couple announcements with you. So our summer program is closing in enrollment really, really soon. Well, it's not technically closing until the end of summer, but we only have 3 spots left at our 50% off price. So if you guys know somebody, I know we've got a few people who are really out there trying to spread the word. If you guys know somebody who needs to get into this program, they're thinking about it, they're on the fence, just have them schedule a consultation with me so we can make it happen, because we're getting such cool results in our summer program that I want to share that with everybody. But since that one is kind of coming to a close, we're offering a new program here really shortly in the beginning of June called the June Jumpstart. Kind of same thing. We're just trying to get everybody ready for the next semester of school. I know this has been a weird year for everybody and probably a weird beginning to summer, but mask restrictions are lifting and all kinds of exciting stuff is happening, but we just want to make sure that everybody is on the right track and ready for their next semester. So to kind of aid in the launch of that, we are actually going to be offering a 14-day primitive reflex challenge on Facebook. It's only $77 to join. I'm going to have a post about it coming up this week, but $77 to get into the 2-week super extreme, super intense primitive reflex challenge. I know so many of you who are in this program are like, oh my gosh, if my friends would just do primitive reflexes just the first 2 weeks of our program, they would get such cool change. So we're going to have everybody that joins that challenge doing 3 sets of primitive reflexes every single day for 2 weeks. It's going to be really intense, but they're going to see a bunch of change and get really, really excited. So I'm going to be posting about that, but that might be a great introduction for people who are maybe on the fence, not sure about talking to me yet, because I know you guys are all out there trying to spread the word, but this might be a good kind of introductory thing for them. Okay, so I will have a couple posts about that coming up soon. So let's go ahead and get into it. Why do some kids struggle with anxiety and how to recognize it in your child, even if you're not seeing the symptoms of it, kind of like the classic anxiety symptoms. Maybe they're just worrying about stuff or stressing out about things all the time. Anxiety is so much more than that. So a lot of times kids that have ADHD or OCD or oppositional defiance disorder even, or really massive like behavior problems, are struggling with anxiety, and that's driving a lot of the bad behavior that you're seeing. I remember I worked with a girl, actually Cian, she's done a bunch of videos for her, I can use their name. They are such an amazing family and so wonderful about telling their testimonial and getting the word out there, and I can share a little bit of those videos with you guys this week too. But Cian, I remember when they came to us, she was struggling with so many behavior problems, what looked like behavior problems. I mean, she was really, really close to being in big trouble. She was yelling and screaming at teachers. She was throwing fits. She would black out in their car. She would like kick the back of the seat. She would start wailing on her sisters, and she would black out. And then her parents would tell her later what she had done, and she would start crying because that's not her heart. That's not her intention. She was so sweet, but she just could not control her behavior in those moments. So she went through program, and oh my gosh, like night and day difference. They had parent-teacher conferences, and just like some meetings about Cian because she was struggling so much, and her teachers this year were meeting with her teachers from the previous year saying, this cannot be the same kid. That's not Cian. We know Cian. We met Cian. Cian's in my class. There's no way that she had those behavior problems. She's like on the volleyball team. She's on the cheerleading squad. She's just like crushing it with her grades. She's just doing so fabulously. It's just complete 180 from the way that she was acting. So we actually got together with Cian's family about a year and a half ago. Maybe it's been a while now, but they did some testimonial videos from us, and Cian was far enough removed from the program at that point where she could really talk about what it was like for her in those moments and kind of recognize what she was feeling. And oh my gosh, so many of her behavior issues were coming from an anxiety problem. So here's an example of one of the things that she talked about. Hi, Mom. Thank you for joining. But one of the things that she talked about with us was this moment that the whole family remembered because it was really traumatic for all of them. They were going to Six Flags. So they were going to go to Six Flags, and on the way they were going to stop at like their grandma's house or something to drop something off, and they went to grandma's house, and then they started going not the direction to Six Flags, and Cian just started freaking out in the back seat. And this is one of those episodes where she's kicking, she's screaming, she's like just absolutely losing her mind in the back seat. And the whole reason is because they were going to the bank before they went to Six Flags because they wanted to get cash before they went to Six Flags. And she's just having this whole meltdown in the back seat over going to the bank. And her parents just couldn't understand. It seems like such a big behavior problem. She's just melting down right and left, and we don't know why. And come to find out, we talked to Cian about it. 3 years. Hi, Candace. Thank you for joining. We talked to her about it, a year out of the program, and she can remember now what she felt in that moment. She said, I was so anxious because I thought if we go to the bank, then we're going to have way less time at Six Flags, and we're probably not even going to get there until a couple hours before close, and then we're not going to have any time to ride all the rides, and I want to make sure that I ride this certain ride, and I'm not going to get to ride it because now we have to take all this time to go to the bank. And she felt herself having this anxiety response, and she felt herself having those emotions. Hey there. And she felt herself melting down. She was watching her parents' response, and that made her even more anxious because she could see how her behavior was delaying, again, their time getting to Six Flags. And she knew if I keep this up, they're probably going to turn the car around and we're not even going to go to Six Flags at all, which is what ended up happening. They didn't even go to the park because she was just melting down so hard. But all of it was based on anxiety. She didn't have the control over her situation that she wanted to have. There was a plan in place, and we weren't following that plan, and it looked like this huge meltdown over going to the bank because she's just being a jerk that wants to go to Six Flags. But she was having an anxiety attack that was presenting as a massive behavioral problem meltdown. So this is what's happening for a lot of our kids that have ADHD and behavior problems. They kind of go hand in hand often, not all the time, but often they do go hand in hand because the left hemisphere is responsible for understanding things like details. It's very detail oriented. It's very literal. It's very logical. It likes patterns. It likes repetition. It doesn't like change. So many of the kids that we're working with have overactive left hemispheres. Then the right side of the brain is supposed to be able to communicate with the left side and say, that's an overreaction, or remember what happened last time you did this, you're going to get in trouble, or if you do that, someone's going to give you a weird look, or hey man, chill, it's just the bank, it's only going to take 5 minutes. But because she had an underactive right hemisphere, she just didn't have any regulation. So she went from, this was the plan, this is the plan, everything has to happen in the exact order that they said it would happen, and if it doesn't, the whole day is just going to fall apart. And the right hemisphere just could not communicate with the left hemisphere to say it's going to be all right. And the left hemisphere is also responsible for anger and frustration. So instead of seeing this worry and this panic, which is more of a right hemisphere, fear is a right brain emotion, we see instead just anger, meltdown, day's over, forget about it. So by stimulating the right hemisphere, we can help these kids that have anxiety. So much anxiety is coming from just this feeling of a lack of control. And the same thing is happening for kids that just kind of lock down or shut down when they're doing homework or when they're trying to read, especially if they really struggle to read, is because the left hemisphere needs everything to be perfect. So if I can't do this homework absolutely perfectly and get every single question right and get an A++++, then there's no point in doing it in the first place, because it's either do it perfectly or why do it at all. So we see this kind of present in a couple of different ways for kids. Often, sometimes, I wouldn't say often, maybe about 65-70% of the time with girls, we see this kind of result in extreme perfectionism. Girls that are, we've had kids in the past that will write something on a piece of paper, and they made a mistake. Their handwriting didn't look absolutely perfect. So they'll erase it, and they'll, then there will be eraser marks, and then they'll have to start over with a completely new piece of paper because it's so imperfect and they just can't handle it. So you get these girls that are absolute extreme perfectionists. They're having massive anxiety about it, and just everything has to be absolutely perfect. Or we have boys and some girls, like I said, maybe about like 40% of girls, 30-40% of girls will do this too, but they just shut down. If it can't be perfect, why do it at all? If I can't make my room absolutely perfectly neat, then it might as well just be a mess, and that way I don't have to feel any responsibility for it. If I can't make my backpack perfectly clean, then just forget about it. If I can't do my homework the exact right way, then I'm just not even going to try. And we have all these kids that get really frustrated and really angry when you try to make them read and try to make them do homework because they're faced with their own inability to be absolutely perfect every single time they do it. So stimulate the right hemisphere, get the right brain doing what it's supposed to do, and that will really help a lot with all these anxiety symptoms that we're seeing in kids. So, but to stimulate the right hemisphere, there are so many different things that we do in our program, but one of the easiest things that you can do if you're not in our program yet is just really simple passive stimulation. If you're already in our program, forget about it. We're doing all kinds of right brain stimulation anyway. But if you're not in our program yet, just work on really easy passive stimulation. So the left side of the brain controls the right side of the body and vice versa. So by stimulating the left hemisphere in most cases, then we stimulate the right side of the brain. So the only exception to that is the olfactory sense. So our right side of our brain actually controls like our right nostril. That's called an ipsilateral function, which is the same side. Fun fact for you. But so what we do in our program is just cover the right eye. If your child is struggling with a right hemisphere delay, cover their right eye for just 30 minutes so that all of their visual stimulation is coming in through their left eye and then hitting their right hemisphere. And you can do the same thing with their auditory sense. Maybe just play some music in their left ear and cover their right ear. Even while they're watching TV, just cover one eye, cover one ear, and now we've got the two holes that lead right to the brain. As crazy as that sounds, those two holes that go right to the brain are getting all the stimulation and stimulating the right hemisphere. And you can even do like tactile stimulation, like brushing or vibration, just on the left side of their body. And over time, you're not going to see this change anything overnight. But things like primitive reflex suppression, which I'm always going to talk about in just like every single video that I do because it's so important. Primitive reflex suppression and passive stimulation will make a huge, huge impact on anxiety long term. This is not a short-term fix. This is not like taking an anxiety medication, but stimulating the right hemisphere long term will help your child truly, truly overcome anxiety without medications. So give that a try for me. If you want to talk about that some more, you can send me a message, we can text about it, we can just have a phone conversation about it, whatever you need. If your child is dealing with anxiety, I know that can be really scary and frustrating and painful for everyone. So please don't hesitate to reach out. So before I let you guys go, I just have a couple of really exciting stories that I want to share for you. One of them I talked about last week. We had a family just get started this week on week 1 of primitive reflex suppression exercises, and I told you guys last week this little girl is connecting with her mom and having conversations for the first time ever. Mom came to me and she was like, I don't feel any connection to my daughter. She doesn't talk to me. She would walk in her daughter's room every morning and greet her and tell her she loves her, and her daughter would go like this. She wouldn't even say anything. She would just shoo her away. And she's young. She's not like a teenager. She's not 13 or anything like that. She's just not understanding how to connect with people. She did this to her sister. She does it to, I think, her teachers. She doesn't really have a lot of friends. She's just not interested in connecting to people. But I told you about her earlier this week where Mom said, we did exercises and all of a sudden she just got really chatty. Is it normal to see change this early? I was like, oh my God, yes, this is amazing. She sent me a Marco Polo a couple days ago and said, she walked into her daughter's room just like she always does, and she said, good morning, God loves you, I love you, and she rubs her for a little bit, and her daughter just pops up and says, hi, Mommy, and talked for 5 minutes straight without stopping. What a great way to start your morning. Connecting with your daughter for the first time pretty much ever, I think, is a great way to start your morning. That message from that mom was a great way to start my morning, and I'm just so, so excited for them. We also have a couple of kids who are overcoming picky eating this week, and I don't know if you saw my story, but we have a little guy who's reading so much better. He's connecting to his own progress so much better. He understands that he's reading better for the first time. And then we also have that same little boy who got on his bike and started riding it this week. It's not perfect, but he's come so far in such a short amount of time with bike riding. Mom actually asked me, I think either early this week or late last week, will this help with bike riding? He's never been able to ride his bike, and she sent me a video of him giving it a try and being so much more successful than he's ever been. So that is coming for them too. I will let you know once he nails it. But yeah, everyone is doing awesome in our program. We've seen some highs, we've seen some lows, we've seen some sleep get better, some bike riding get better, some reading get better, some picky eating get better, and so many cool things. So if you guys know somebody or you have a friend that is needing to get into this program, I think our 2-week super intense primitive reflex suppression challenge will be a great thing for them. It's only $77 and it's just a good introductory thing for them to really see some change and feel some hope, because man, those things are so stinking important. And so yeah, I think I'm gonna let you go. I think that's all I got for you. We are going live 2 times next week on Tuesday and Thursday. We are talking about bike riding. So why are those kids getting better with their bike riding, and what to do if your child has a messy room, a messy backpack, a messy locker, some exercises we can do to target those things. So have a fabulous weekend. I hope you can enjoy some sunshine, and I will see you guys next week. Bye.